Tonight, still closed. Heating issues prevent the Tumbler Ridge Community Center from reopening. A step closer. An update on the drinking water situation in Hudson's Hope. And strike vote. Workers at a gas camp vote in favor of job action. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight with Tumbler Ridge residents left in limbo as the closure of the community center has been extended for at least 10 more days. An anticipated 2-day shutdown has now turned into a weeks-long nightmare, leaving the community without a full slate of services and amenities. The center is now set to reopen on February the 23rd. The closure impacting all facilities, including the daycare, fitness center, curling rink, and library. The building also serves as a warming center. The closure comes after a heating issue forced the closure last week. Council forced to approve up to $300,000 to cover the cost of a new boiler and heater rentals to get the facility running again. Those heaters are now deployed throughout the building to prevent further damage. In an update, the district says staff are working around the clock to secure the building. They've been working with the YMCA to temporarily relocate the daycare to the visitor center and elementary school. They're also working on scouting other spaces and virtual options to provide services. The district thanking the public for their understanding and patience as they work towards a safe reopening. The fight for clean drinking water in Hudson's Hope is one step closer to being resolved. The district signing a memorandum of understanding with BC Hydro. That'll see the utility commit to building a permanent water treatment system. They'll also fund the rental of a water clarifier until a permanent one is operational. Since July of 2023, there's been a temporary plan after a change in the source of water during the construction of the Site C dam. The change caused the quality of water to drop significantly. That led to a year-long boil water advisory from Northern Health. The temporary plant that purifies water from the Peace River comes at a monthly cost of between $27,000 and $75,000 to rent and maintain. Back in September, residents protested drinking water issues when BC Hydro executives traveled through town on their way to meet with workers. The public backlash came as the district proposed borrowing nearly $5 million to fix the plant at the expense of residents. The district says they are now working closely with Hydro to finalize the design and negotiate the terms of a final agreement. Well, not many things are cheaper today than they were over a decade ago, but the recent approval of 10 new renewable energy contracts, including 2 right here in the Peace region, will see the price of electricity go down. BC Hydro says they've applied to the BC Utilities Commission for the approval of 9 wind farms and 1 solar project. The projects would generate about 4,800 gigawatt hours of electricity annually at 45% less than rates were back in 2010. The average price adjusted for inflation will be $74 per megawatt hour, keeping electricity bills affordable according to BC Hydro. They'll also increase supply by 8% and power 500,000 new homes. The Stewart Creek Wind Project in Fort St. John signing a 30-year electricity purchase agreement with the utility back in December of last year. It's being built in partnership with the West Moberly First Nations. Initial projections expect to see it operational by 2028, while EDF Renewables is working with the Saulteaux First Nation to move from fossil fuels to clean energy with the Taylor Wind Project. That's slated to generate power by the year 2031. BC Hydro adds the projects will drive up to $6 billion in private investment and create anywhere between 800 and 1,500 jobs. It'll also boost economic reconciliation, with most projects having majority First Nations ownership, representing $2.5 to $3 billion in equity. Hospital workers at a gas camp west of Fort St. John have voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action. The union, representing 31 employees at the Cobbs Creek Lodge, say workers have voted 93.5% in favor of job action. Unite Here Local 40 says they've been at the bargaining table since December. The culinary, housekeeping, and janitorial workers are employed by Horizon North Camp Services. They serve crews working on natural gas projects around northern BC. The workers are demanding better wages, travel pay, safe workloads, and improved benefits. The union says they're now in the process of deciding when to issue strike notice to the company. The CRTC has approved Bell Media's sale of 21 radio stations across British Columbia. The deal with Vista Radio is worth just over $3 million. CJDC's Pure Country 890 in Dawson Creek is included in the sale. So are Bounce and Move FM in Fort St. John. The deal also includes Bounce 102.3 FM in Fort Nelson. So far, there's no timeline as to when Vista will begin operating the station. Bell Media is the parent company of CJDC-TV News. Dawson Creek RCMP are asking for the public's help in identifying a man wanted for shoplifting. Police allege this man stole close to $200 worth of items at a Walmart around 8 p.m. on February the 2nd. Investigators say the suspect walked out of the store with a cart full of items. He then got into a vehicle that was waiting for him and drove away. The suspect is being described as a 40 to 50-year-old man. He's approximately 5 feet 7 inches tall and was wearing a blue jacket. If you have any information, you are being asked to contact the Dawson Creek RCMP. The number of flu cases peaking in British Columbia, according to the Centre for Disease Control. The spike in cases is typical for respiratory illnesses this time of year. However, the BC CDC says the number of COVID-19 cases are low and they are decreasing further. New data shows percentage of positive influenza A cases have risen to 24% for the week ending February the 1st. That's more than double the rate reported in late December. Medical experts are reminding all British Columbians that getting vaccinated remains the best protection against the flu. Concern is growing in BC about the future of the most endangered bird in Canada. All 6 northern spotted owls raised in a special breeding program in Langley before being released into the wild have died. The news comes as the province is facing pushback on a proposed all-season mountain resort near Chilliwack. The Wilderness Committee is calling on the province to scrap the Bridal Veil Mountain Resort proposal. They say the development threatens the spotted owl. Back in 2021, only 3 of the birds living in the wild were left. Well, 2 months ago today, Service Canada declared that a woman in New Brunswick had passed away, except she didn't. The woman didn't know where the problem was until she stopped receiving government checks. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
It took a month and a half for Kathy Adams to clue in she'd been deemed dead.
I mean, you have to laugh.
She felt fine, but her old age security and Canada Pension Plan payments stopped. She called Service Canada.
She said, I'm sorry, it's bad news, but on December 13th, it was noted that you were deceased. And then she was very sweet. She said, my condolences. And both of us laughed.
That person couldn't fix it, but flagged the issue as urgent. Adams made nearly 24 calls. She reached her Member of Parliament, called Service Canada back for more information, and went to the local office to prove she is alive. That's where she learned what happened.
A niece had called in and reported a death. She said, well, that's obviously been put on the wrong account.
While CTV News interviewed Adams, a high-level Service Canada employee called.
And I do want to, express my, apologies for sure in terms of the error, and I know that it definitely, has been inconvenient for you.
They confirmed no personal information was compromised. Adams saw similar stories online and thinks there should be a faster and easier way to correct the record.
They need to either be really careful about what they're entering on files or have some protocols that it can be corrected very, very quickly.
Tonight, Adams' social insurance number is reactivated. She's once again receiving her CPP and old age security payments, but still has to call a call center to get her Service Canada account unlocked. Employment and Social Development Canada says what happened is exceptionally rare. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Well, Donald Trump has been promising to introduce reciprocal tariffs, and today the U.S. president followed through on that pledge. Trump directed his economic team to start calculating levies that match those that other countries charge the United States. CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports.
While Canada appears likely to avoid the brunt of the tariffs announced today, we certainly didn't go unnoticed. The existing free trade agreement we have with the U.S. and the fact Canada doesn't appear to really tariff U.S. imports means today's executive order isn't likely to have a great impact on us. There is, though, a question around non-tariff trade barriers, which the president mentioned today, and whether measures Canada takes to protect sectors like the dairy or softwood lumber industries could be a target but that isn't yet clear. What is clear, the president still sees Canada as a target for the 51st state.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Going with Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay much less tax than they're paying right now. They'd have perfect military protection.
The president pointed again to Canada not reaching NATO's 2% of GDP target on defense spending as a reason for our country to become the 51st state. That's despite repeated responses from Canadian officials, including premiers in Washington this week, saying that won't happen, and he didn't answer the question about how talks are going with Canada, with across-the-board 25% tariffs set to come into effect March 4th. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
And two key members of Donald Trump's cabinet have been confirmed. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was sworn in as Health Secretary this afternoon. The Senate passed his confirmation in a 52-48 vote. He has pledged to tackle chronic diseases and will oversee a number of agencies, including the FDA and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Meanwhile, Brooke Rawlings has been confirmed as Agriculture Secretary in a 72-28 vote. The America First Policy Institute president will lead the department as tariffs could hit U.S. agricultural exports. Mass deportation plans could also lead to a severe farm labor shortage in the states. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will not accept any peace negotiations with Russia that do not involve his country.
Зберегти підтримку Сполучених Штатів.
In his first comments since his call with President Trump, Zelensky says the main point of negotiation is to ensure that Vladimir Putin does not get his way on every sticking point in the talks. Zelensky also wants Europe to have a seat at the negotiating table. To the Middle East now, where Hamas says it will release 3 Israeli hostages this weekend as planned. The 3 men are scheduled to be freed on Saturday. It should resolve a major dispute over the ceasefire in Gaza Strip. Hamas had threatened to delay the release, accusing Israel of violating the truce. The Israelis then threatened to renew their offensive in Gaza if the captives were not free. Well, to a shocking attack in Germany now. 28 people are injured, including several children, after a car drove into a crowd in Munich. Authorities say the driver, a 24-year-old asylum seeker from Afghanistan, was arrested at the scene. Investigators believe it was a deliberate attack. The crash comes as the city prepares for a top-level security conference. The meeting is set to draw scores of foreign officials to the city on Friday. Well, back here at home, Fort St. John Co-op will support 7 local nonprofits across the region with a generous charitable donation. Co-op's Community Support Fund will allocate $50,000 across a variety of initiatives. Those include palliative care, education, poverty relief, seniors housing, and youth development programs. Among the organizations selected, the Northeast Immigrant Services Society, the Women's Resource Center, and the North Peace Seniors Housing Society. The Fort St. John Co-op says the donations reflect their dedication to community growth and well-being. Well, General Manager Brad Lucier adds, they've been proud to support nonprofits over the past 80 years. The fund is allocated yearly and accepts applications between the months of October and November. All right, please do stay tuned. I'll be right back with a look at your long weekend weather. But as we head to break, here's a look at today's closing market numbers.